Hey, it's Coach Em here. Are you looking for a way to talk to your teen and actually get through to them? To help them understand the weight of their decisions, the impact and the consequences of their choices? Do you feel like you talk to them, but they're not really listening to you? Well, I've got the absolute best communication method to share with you today that will make a significant difference in your ability to effectively communicate and guide your teenager to having an amazing, extraordinary life for themselves. Coming up. If you could do me a huge favor and hit that subscribe button for me, that would be wonderful. I'm on a mission to get these powerful tools and strategies on this channel into as many people's hands as possible. Thank you. Okay, before I dive into this powerful communication method, I first want to explain that if your relationship with your teenager is strained in any way, meaning that they're not talking to you, maybe only giving you one-word answers, they act distant, disrespectful, then you'll need to work on repairing the relationship first. In order for this communication method that I'm going to share with you today to work, you have to have connection with your teenager. If you want some great ways to connect with your teen, check out the video here and it's linked in the description below. Having great rapport, a really good connection with your teenager is vital for this communication method to work effectively. What I love about this method is that it actually can make your connection stronger, which is awesome. But you need connection to begin with first. So what is this incredible communication method? It's motivational interviewing, MI for short. Basically, MI is an evidence-based communication method for behavior change. The great thing is, MI isn't just for behavior change. Parts of it can actually be used to elicit deeper thought, analysis, problem solving, and reasoning, especially when your teenager is faced with a tough decision that they have to make. MI is very different than most traditional communication methods. It's based on getting your teenager to talk through and explore their reasons for believing something or doing something. This is quite different than the lecturing approach that we parents are guilty of. Telling our teenager what to do and why just doesn't work, especially if our teenager sees things differently than we do. Lecturing and telling our teens what to do actually makes them resent us and find better ways to hide the things that we're telling them not to do. We have to help them see if their behavior that they're choosing to engage in is healthy or not, whether it's something that serves them or not, or whether they want something better for themselves. I'm going to warn you, MI is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the parent that thinks my way or the highway. It's not for the parent who hasn't done their own inner work to examine their internal triggers. If you don't know how to identify your internal triggers, check out the video here and it's linked in the description below. MI is also not for the parent who isn't willing to grow, evolve, and enhance their parenting skills. MI is on a whole different playing field. I use it with my teenagers, and let me tell you, it's one of the most powerful methods I've ever used. But again, I had to do a lot of inner work first before I could use it properly and effectively. So, if you want help with doing your inner work, just click on the link below and I'll send you some great tools. With MI, you're taking on a slightly different role than you might be used to. Your role in the past may have been to manage your child's life, tell them what to do, how to do it, and when to do it. But with teenagers, that role has to shift and change. It's no longer about you being the authoritative director of their lives. It's not your job to fix them or their mistakes, to make them change a behavior even. The truth is, you can't make them change. And the more that you try, the further you push them away. Motivational interviewing allows you to be their guide, which involves intuitive listening, reflecting, affirming, and providing your wisdom at the right time in the right way. I could create several videos on the different facets of MI, which I might do at a later time. But for the purpose of today's video, I'm going to give you the basics and some examples of what it would look like when you're talking with your teenager. Make sure to subscribe and hit that bell so that you'll get notified when I upload more videos on this topic. First and foremost, before you talk with your teenager about anything, especially a sensitive or tough subject, you'll want to practice the ITA method first. If you don't know what the ITA method is, check out the video here and it's linked in the description below. Once you're ready to have a conversation with your teenager, you'll want to think of the acronym GIVE OARS. I like to think of it as my child is out in the middle of the ocean in a rowboat without oars. Since they have no way to make it back to the shoreline, they're at the ocean current's mercy. And that current will take them wherever it wants to go, which may not be the safest place. So if we can give our child oars to help them get back to shore, they'll have a better chance of surviving. The acronym GIVE OARS, as it pertains to motivational interviewing, stands for Get Permission, Insight, Validate Emotions, Express Possible Options, Open Questions, affirmations, reflections, and summaries. So let's break this down a bit further. The key to sharing information with your teenager and getting them to listen to you is to first ask permission to have a conversation with them. I know what you might be thinking. Why in the world would I ask them if I can have a conversation with them? They're the child, I'm the parent. I don't want you to think of this as giving up your authority as a parent. Think of it more as a way to get your teen to want to listen to you. Remember, this isn't really about you. It's about the influence that you want to have on your teenager's decisions. The truth is, when we just start talking at our teenager about something that they're not ready to talk about, they're not going to hear anything coming out of our mouths, even if we're angry or upset. Talking at them or yelling at them only makes them feel more distant from us, more untrusting of us, and makes them not want to talk to us about anything. When you give your teen a chance to say yes to talking with you before you just start talking, it allows them to have some control in that moment. They recognize that you're giving them their autonomy, and they're more willing to actually listen and hear what you have to say. Some examples of asking permission could look like this. I'd love to talk with you about blank. Is that okay? I had a similar experience when I was younger. Do you want to know what worked for me? Would you be open to hearing a few ideas I have that could possibly help? Now, your teen may say no. They might be testing you, especially if they're used to you talking at them or lecturing them. So if they say no, the key is to say, that's okay. I respect that. At this point, you have to determine if the timing is right. You could say something like, okay, if you change your mind and want to talk about blank, just let me know. I love you and I'm here for you if you need me. If you have a good connected relationship, at some point your teenager may actually bring the subject up to you. Now, if it's a topic that has to be discussed, meaning it's a safety issue or something that's really troubling you, then you'll want to say, I really want to talk with you about blank. I know right now might not be the best time. Please let me know if you'd like to talk in an hour or after dinner. Or, this is something we need to talk about. If now isn't a good time, please let me know when is a good time. At this point, you're still honoring their wish of not wanting to talk about it right then, but you're letting them know that the topic needs to be talked about. And you're giving them some control over when they want to talk about it. Next is insight. Here, you're going to give them some information and share your concerns. This one can be tricky. When you're sharing information with them, stick to the facts only and keep it as brief as possible. You'll want to say something like this. I read something interesting today that 1 out of 5 high school students vape often. It kind of shocked me. Do you think this statistic is accurate? At this point, you can then lead into more questions. Just make sure that you're not asking them any loaded questions or responding in a judgmental way. If you do, your rapport with your teenager will break and they'll shut down. And the goal here is to get them talking through their reasons for a certain behavior or a particular belief they have. Once you've got them talking and you're responding in a curious, non-judgmental way, you'll have an opportunity to be vulnerable and share some of your concerns. Be forewarned, this is a very delicate part of the conversation with your teenager. Sharing concern the right way can help your teen feel safe and protected, which can foster more of a willingness for your teen to share more of their thoughts and feelings with you. However, if this is done in the wrong way, your teenager will stop talking. They'll put up their walls and that'll be the end of the conversation. And again, you want to have influence in their decisions. So some examples of doing this the right way are, I'm really concerned and worried about you. You seem more agitated lately and angry. I would imagine everything you're dealing with right now is contributing to it. The pressure and the stress from school and work and sports must be hard for you. It seems as though it's really getting to you and making you feel more agitated these days. Another approach for sharing your concern is to give them permission to disagree with you from the beginning. It would look something like this. You may not agree with me, but it seems like, or you may think I'm off my rocker, but I noticed, or maybe it's just me, but I wonder if. Next, you'll validate their feelings. This is huge. I can't stress this enough. Letting your teenager know that you understand what they might be feeling gives them the signal that you get them. And they'll feel like you really do understand what they're experiencing, which will lead to them wanting to tell you more. So saying something like, I imagine this is really hard for you. Or, I think if I were in your shoes, I'd feel really sad and confused about what happened too. You can even use validating their feelings as a way to ask permission to talk about a conversation. Like saying, I'm so sorry, you must feel devastated. I'm here for you if you just want someone to talk things through with. Do you think it would help to process through it now? Next, you'll express possible options. This is only when your teenager is done talking about their feelings. whether that's just venting out loud, crying, or wanting to keep talking about how upset or mad they are. You want them to release their heightened emotions while they're talking with you. This is the healthy way for them to process through their emotions. So allow space and time for them to do this without offering advice at all. You just want to validate the feelings. An example would be, "Ooh, that must have really hurt you." Or, "I bet you were upset. How frustrating for you." Now, after they've released their emotions and you validated them, you'll want to listen for what is called change talk. Basically, it's anything giving you an indication that your teenager wants a solution for their problem or the situation, that they're looking for another way to handle or resolve an issue. At this point, they are more open to hearing your advice and your opinions. When your teenager is at this point, you'll want to be careful not to just tell them what they should do or what you think they should do in the situation. You want to offer them several options that they could choose from. And talking about the less optimal options is crucial here, because you have an opportunity to help them explore the consequences of those options. Asking the question, "But what are your thoughts?" after each option and consequence that you give them helps them see the option and consequences more clearly, because there's no power struggle here between the two of you. Your teen doesn't have to try to fight you for control over their choice. They see that you're honoring them and the choice that they make. If your teenager isn't at the point where you hear change talk from them, and instead they're still emotional or they aren't talking about changing anything, then you'll want to start asking open-ended questions to really get them thinking about why they want to change or do something differently. Open-ended, empowering questions are gold when it comes to helping your teenager think about situations from different perspectives, to help them explore their reasoning on a deeper level, and to focus on what they want to change. Open-ended questions elicit more of a response than yes or no. Here are some examples. What do you think it would take for you to feel less stressed? Here's another example that has two parts. On a scale from 1 to 10, how stressed are you? Why do you think you chose a 5 instead of a 3? Or, tell me about blank. What do you think about blank? How do you feel about blank? You do not want to ask questions that start with why here. Try to avoid these at all costs. Why questions often come across as accusatory and will shut down communication with your teenager. Your body language and the tone and pitch of your voice are extremely important here. You want to make sure that you keep a neutral tone and neutral body language when you're asking open-ended questions. Remember, the goal is to empower your teen, not make them feel like you don't understand them or that you don't care about what they have to say. Next is affirmations. You'll want to use affirming statements with your teenager. Affirmations are not compliments. You want them to be authentic and specific to a strength that your teen is demonstrating, or to support their effort in a given situation. Affirming statements honor your teenager's strengths, values, and gifts. They help your teens see themselves in a clearer way. The more that you can focus on their strengths, the more you build a stronger relationship with them. And you help them to want to use their strengths more, which builds their self-confidence and self-esteem. Affirming your teenager's effort and strengths also helps to give them the courage to make a change or avoid risky behavior. Caution here, you don't want to use I statements when affirming your teenager's strengths and effort. You want to use you statements instead. Saying something like, "I know you can do it," doesn't really help your teen see that they can do it. Instead, say something like, "You've had some really tough decisions that you had to make in the past," like when you give an example, "and you were able to really look at the situation from all angles before making a decision. That's a huge strength that not a lot of people have. You've definitely got the maturity to handle this." Next, in the GIVE-ORS acronym is reflections. The number one thing most teens tell me is that they feel their parents don't listen to them. So using reflections the right way can help your teenager to feel understood and listened to, which opens them up to your wisdom and advice. Reflections come from intuitive listening. If you're not sure exactly what intuitive listening is, check out the video here and it's linked in the description below. Reflections are a huge part of any conversation with your teenager. They allow opportunities for your teen to share more information with you, giving you a chance to understand what's really going on. There are a few different forms of reflections. There is repeating, rephrasing, and paraphrasing. I actually don't recommend using the repeating reflection unless you're fairly skilled at doing it in a way where your teenager doesn't take it as you being inauthentic. If you repeat back to them exactly what they say, they may tell you, "That's exactly what I just said." And again, it may come across as not true listening. Rephrasing can work really well. because you'll reflect back to them what they've told you, but you put it in your own words. Just make sure that you use similar words so that your meaning of what you're telling them matches what they actually told you. If your teen says, "I hate school, I always have so much to do, especially this week," you could say something like, "You feel stressed about everything you have to do in school, and this week you have a math test, a history project, and your daily homework." Then allow your teen to respond. With paraphrasing, you're making an educated guess at what your teen means and how they feel. Sometimes with paraphrasing, you might be way off in your interpretation, but paraphrasing gives your teen a chance to correct you, which then could give you an opportunity to use the repeating reflection to show your teen that you now understand. So if your teen says, "I don't identify as a certain gender," you could say, "You don't believe you're more masculine than feminine or more feminine than masculine." With reflections, you always want to keep a neutral tone and say them as a statement, not a question. Keep your tone as flat as you can. Like, "You were curious about vaping," instead of "You were curious about vaping?" You'll want to use a couple reflections for every question you ask. And if your teen doesn't respond right away after you give a reflection, allow the silence to be there before saying anything. Oftentimes, our teens need quite a bit of time and space to think about how they want to respond. And last but not least, the S in the Give-Ors acronym is for summaries. Similar to reflections, but you're going to summarize what your teen has told you from the beginning of the conversation to the end, making sure to touch on their feelings, their thoughts, their concerns, and anything they've said that indicates that they're ready to find a solution to their problem. From there, you can help them talk through how and when they'll make a change or solve their problem. This is a rather quick overview of motivational interviewing. If you'd like in-depth information on how to start implementing it with your teenager today, just click on the link below. This is by far the most effective, powerful way to communicate with your teenager. Start using it today and watch the transformation, not only with your teenager, but with your relationship as well. Again, if you want more help, click on the link below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more videos like it, where I give you the best tools and strategies to navigate the teen years, be sure to hit the subscribe button down below and click on the bell icon to get notified when I upload a new video. And I upload videos every week. Wishing you an amazing week, and I'll see you in the next video.